Hi, this is Chef John Tizar from Top Chef and Knife in Dallas, Texas. You're listening to the Coarse Grind Podcast with Shawn Rosler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 55 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you, as always, host, creator, Shawn Rosler. How's everybody doing today? You know, people ask me all the time about this show, what my hang-up is with a little show on Bravo called Top Chef. Maybe you've heard of it. There are several reasons I could give, more than several, to be absolutely sure. The caliber of skill, creativity, the intensity, all of it speaks to me. But one of the reasons I didn't fully put together until today's guest came on this past season, centered around Charleston, was simply the pure discovery factor. Part of what makes this show so amazing is doing some dig work when you find a cheftestant that you rally behind, only to find they're nothing short of an icon in their profession. And while he may try to be humble about it, this is my intro, and I'm not going to let him be. This evening's guest is the executive chef of the state of Alabama and chairman of the Alabama Seafood Marketing Commission. As state chef, he places an emphasis on using the best local ingredients and has made strides to encourage support of local farmers and Alabama fishers. He uses his position as ambassador of food to promote farmers markets and events that support Alabama food products. He's not only responsible for the daily preparation of food for the first family of Alabama, but he's also responsible for planning and preparing menus for events sponsored by the state. Again, no big deal, right? And if you didn't get the memo, those can be pretty fancy. In 2011, he was crowned the King of American Seafood by winning the Great American Seafood Cook-Off and became the national spokesperson for Alabama Seafood, American Sustainable Seafood, Gulf Seafood, and the NOAA. As the winner, he traveled the country educating the Americans about the benefits of sustainable seafood. As chairman of the Alabama Seafood Marketing Commission, this talented chef is proud to be a part of the great work being done to promote Alabama seafood. This, of course, is all notwithstanding the fact that he was just on Top Chef Charleston, putting up a valiant effort and rallying quite the squad of fans in the fan favorite competition. Best of all, he's a nice guy. Like a really nice guy. Just ask the other guests from Charleston I've had on. And that makes his skill and talent all the more amazing. But enough with the fanboy. Let's get on with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my guest today, executive chef of Alabama and the chair of their Seafood Marketing Commission, Chef Jim Smith. Chef, how are we doing today?
I am doing great, and it is wonderful to be on your show. I'm very excited to be here today.
I'm absolutely flattered. I mean, executive chef of a state, this is another podcast first. What all does that involve before we even get into, all the story about you? That just sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a really cool job. It's been my first non-restaurant job, and it's something that I really have enjoyed and have really learned to enjoy. What I do every day is I cook food for the governor. Sort of happens what I do every day. But also anytime that there's a party or an event that happens at the mansion or at the Capitol or really anywhere around the state where they need somebody to represent the food of the state, I usually get that call. And so it's been really amazing just to discover all the unique foods the state of Alabama has to offer, and to really get out there and represent it in a good way.
I mean, you're an important guy, man. You are an important guy. So,
well, I don't know about that. I just make the food.
I knew the humbleness was going to come. So let's talk about Chef Jim Smith again. For folks new to the show, for folks with horrible short-term memories like me, starters, mains, afters. We're going to talk about where the guest came from. We're going to talk about what the guest is doing currently, and we're going to talk about what the future holds. So, without further ado, Chef Jim Smith, tell me about where and what you grew up eating.
For me, I grew up in Alabama. I was born in North Florida, right there in Panama City, so right there on the coast. And so, for me, growing up, I ate lots of seafood. I remember at a young age going down to the docks and getting bags of oysters from my dad and grandfather, and taking them home and cracking them open and eating them. I really grew up on Southern food. One of my favorite meals to eat is just peas and cornbread. It really doesn't get any more Southern than that. You just want to have the cornbread drenched in all that good pot liquor from the pan. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up eating what most people think of as Southern foods, and a lot of seafood.
Right on, right on. And growing up, would you have considered yourself a pretty adventurous eater, or were you picky?
No, I was always a pretty adventurous eater, and I still am. I love to taste new foods and try new things. Yes, always adventurous.
Always adventurous. I love it. And you mentioned that peas and cornbread and the pot liquor and everything like that. What childhood foods do you look back to and like almost miss belonging in your heart? I mean, obviously you're the state chef of Alabama, so you can recreate these, but you've got to have that pang of nostalgia sometime for dishes from your childhood. What are some of those?
Really, what really sort of pulls at my heart food strings the most is really seafood. Like I just mentioned the oysters. That's a huge thing for me. Like I remember as a kid loving fried crab claws. Like I love blue crab, and fried crab claws are one of those things. I love good chicken and dumplings. It's definitely one of my favorites. And sort of a Southern style Thanksgiving dressing with cranberry sauce. I could eat every day of the year.
I hear that. So obviously, growing up, you're surrounded with this amazing Southern food and all these influences. If you had to pick one of those influences that truly pushed you to where you are today, who would you consider your greatest culinary influence to have been?
Yeah, I spent a long time working for Chef Frank Sid in Birmingham, Alabama, and I started off there as a busboy, and I did a lot of front of the house work there. But really, working in that restaurant in Birmingham, it really taught me how to respect food, how to find the best ingredients, really how to treat food with a reverence that's hard to understand unless you work with it every day. I learned about wine and service, and I gained a real pleasure for making people happy by providing them with something as simple as food. I really discovered that you can change people's days, you can get to know people, you can really just genuinely make people happy by making something for them, which it means a lot to me. And I've learned those things really working in Birmingham.
Definitely. So you learned those things coming up in Birmingham. As far as putting like a pin on the moment that you realized not only was this something you were going to do, but you were going to do it for your life. Was there an aha moment where that happened for you, or was it more just gradual?
For me, it was more just gradual. I was always sort of the person who I considered myself to be an artistic person growing up. I was always in the band and playing instruments, and I was always doing art and photography, and I really wasn't sure that there was a good creative outlet. I didn't really know what the best creative outlet for me was going to be growing up. And so, after working in Birmingham with these great chefs and sort of discovering that I could bring that kind of art and creativity to the plate, it really, I think that's probably the pinpoint area which I knew that the food was the direction I wanted to go in.
That's awesome. Now we have to stop right there. You were a bando?
Oh yes, I was in the band. I played a trumpet. My dad and uncle are both actually band directors. But yeah, I played the trumpet. I was in the band. I was in the theater club. I was a big high school and college debater. Pretty much sort of all the nerdy things you could think of about school. I was involved in. Well,
you are in good company, sir, and I think that's why I had the subconscious urge to interview you, because I actually have geek tattooed on my leg. I'm a brass minor, trombone player, choir.
That's what my dad teaches. He's a trombone instructor, low brass instructor.
Beautiful. Choir, theater, you name it. I was there too. So you are definitely in good company. But that actually speaks to the artistic, influence where music kind of influences food, and vice versa. It's all kind of a mood setter to a certain extent, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, those are the kind of things. Yeah, they can definitely set the mood. They can create the mood. They can, inspire people, and that's what I find sort of the most impactful for me about my job is sort of the inspiration and making people happy and sharing sharing something that, provides sustenance for somebody, but, provides something that's more than just sustenance.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of inspiration, where, present day, now that you are, and I'm just going to keep dropping this until I break all 10 toes with the name dropping here, as the executive chef of the state of Alabama, where do you pull from for inspiration? Because obviously, you've got a pretty full schedule, you've got a pretty full book that you've got to keep interesting and fresh. Where do you draw from for that?
For me, I really just draw the most part from my surroundings, from what's around it, specifically the state. And on the mansion grounds and on another state property, we have great, amazing, like almost farm-sized plots where we grow tons of the food that we use in the mansion. It's something that I'm really proud of. So we have an amazing summer harvest. We have generally produced more food than I can cook. So we're always sort of, giving away watermelons in the middle of summer and doing our best to grow really cool things. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that Alabama is such a great agricultural state. There's no shortage of great food. There's grist mills, there's amazing seafood, there's great pig farms. So Alabama has this sort of unique culinary heritage, which I get to sort of spin the wheel and choose what I want to explore that week or whatever.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So with all that inspiration and with all those great, ingredients that you have literally right in your backyard, what would you consider over the years, over your time doing what you do, to be one of, if not the greatest creation you ever came out with?
That is so hard a question to answer. I think that generally, like, whatever I'm working on at the time, I think is my best creation. And that may not be the case, but I feel that sometimes when creating a dish or working with certain ingredients, you sort of become myopic and a focus of that ingredient. And really, to be a good chef, it's all about refinement and re-execution and practicing the dishes that you make to come up with sort of the best possible combinations of flavors and textures. And so, for me, I really love to dive into one dish and think about it and try my best to perfect it. That also includes like doing research. Like if I know that there's one element of this recipe that I'm curious in, I will go to every cookbook. I will look up 50 recipes online. Digest them all and sort of pick and choose and learn and create what I want to be. What I want the dish to be, and it's good to have all that sort of background of knowledge when you're trying to put something together that you want to be proud of.
Absolutely. No, I'd say that's a spot on answer, and that's not an uncommon answer, which there again, I think that's so telling to the devoted nature of people working on their craft, like you do. Now, speaking of making things, you have something coming up in the April-May timeframe that you created, Crate Chef Box?
Yeah, Crate Chef is this great company that I've been working with, and what they do is they get chefs to pick sort of their favorite non-perishable items. So it is a box like some of the other ones where you cook the raw ingredients, but this one is all non-perishable. So once you buy it, you don't have to worry about it, spoiling or making sure you get to it. But what I've done is I've picked 5 or 6 of my favorite things from across the state, and I've put them into a box. It comes with some great recipes. And there's some really cool stuff in there. If you're thinking about a Mother's Day gift, there's some good items in the box that would make a great Mother's Day gift. So yeah, check it out. It's Crate Chef. It's easy to find online. It's very easy to order. It's a really nice box, and I'm really proud of what I've put together to go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually looking at it right now, straight from the heart of Dixie, no less. Newest chef partner, Jim Smith. So be sure to check it out, cratechef.com. Jim Smith. Mother's Day gift, no less. That actually snuck up on me. I'd forgotten the Mother's Day was around the corner, but thank you for that reminder, sir. You'll keep me out of hot water this go around.
So there you go. You can get the box, and you can just sort of repackage what you want to out of there, and you're ready to go.
I love it. So actually, speaking of trends, the Crate Chef concept, Blue Apron concept, all these concepts have been a trend that's been coming along, and I think it's making culinary adventurism, for lack of a better term, a little more accessible to folks who maybe have been intimidated by it before. Is there a next big thing in food, in your opinion, in your educated, knowledgeable opinion, that we should be watching for as consumers, as diners?
That is a really tough question. Food trends ebb and flow, and there's so many new ones, and even something that I think was interesting and cutting edge 5 years ago, like maybe like the use of grains or something, cool grains like freekeh, all sort of new grains. Like, to me, that feels almost like old hat, but I see articles, still coming up, newest food trends, unique grains. Mm-hmm. And so I think that people are trying to eat healthier. I don't think that's going to go away. I think that although now it seems like there's been sort of a step away from super fine dining, I think that so much of the new counter service restaurants may find a little bit of a backlash in the near distant future, because people want to go out and have something nice. Mm-hmm. So I think that all of those trends are circular, and things come and go. But really, I think that people still want to go out and have a really nice meal. Someplace they want to go someplace on date night that they can woo their significant other.
That's right.
I think that there's going to be, my prediction is that there's going to be a resurgence of nice restaurants and less of a focus on the sort of counter type restaurants, or pick up and go type of restaurants that seem to be so popular over the past 2 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as the layperson on this interview right now, I know that there are times that I want that, but there are times that I want to sit down for 2-3 hours and just enjoy a series of courses paired with wines and just forget that there's an outside world going on. Yeah,
definitely. I think that there's just something really special about that, and I know that it's harder business for restaurateurs, but I think that the best restaurateurs who provide the best food can make those sort of situations work no matter what. And I think that people have a real longing for experimentation and tasting new foods and having sort of a real dining experience. I think that those kind of dining experiences have kind of been downplayed over the past couple of years, and I see them coming back.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that's because of an effort? How do I put this without sounding condescending? But I probably will anyway, and people that know me know that I can be, so it doesn't matter, I guess. Overly trying to dumb down food. I feel like that's happened because it's been my pastime, and I'm knowledgeable on it, and I've seen this approach to it, like, really oversimplifying. Do you think maybe that's part of it, Jim?
Yeah, I think that there's probably some of that going on. I think a lot of it has to do with the restaurant business. I think that it's hard to make a restaurant profitable. It's hard to keep a restaurant afloat, and those things weigh in, the owner's heads and the chef's heads, and so they oftentimes, I think, will choose sort of the easy option to make sure that they have business. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you want to have your business work.
Yep.
And, I think that there has been some of that strategy, and not necessarily that it's a bad strategy, but it's sort of a different strategy. I think that sort of the embracement of that strategy is what will drive people back to sit-down restaurants.
Yeah, most definitely. So speaking of trends, and you probably being aware of literally 110% of them, is there any trend at play right now or in recent memory that you just despised with every fiber of your being?
A little bit. I not really despise it, because the business of it is tough. It sort of pains me to see things like Nashville hot chicken taken to a giant national chain fried chicken restaurant. Yes. Like, those are the kind of things that hurt me a little bit on the inside. Not that there's anything wrong with those businesses, and I understand they've got to keep evolving too, but I think that they're sort of like this, also it's sort of like, barbecue is very trendy right now, and I love barbecue. I eat a lot of barbecue. But, there gets to be a point where you don't want to see it in, set up with 100 chains across the country where that it's sort of lost its love, because,
exactly.
It takes such a long time to make it, to do it well,
Yep.
You know, you don't want to see those kind of things get commodified in a way that make them less valuable.
Yeah, and I mean that's not specifically talking about fast food either. We could certainly paint that with one stroke, but I agree. And actually, I think it was Jamie Lynch who I had on recently said kind of the same thing, that like, you know, it's so oversaturated that it loses any kind of meaning whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know Jamie felt that way, but that's not surprising. Yeah, it's there are things that are definitely. It's so hard for me because, you know, part of me wants to be this total food purist who says, like, you know, don't have 50 barbecue restaurants all with the same name. But at the same time, like, I understand the business of it too. Yep. You know, like, and I understand that if you live in a place that doesn't have barbecue, maybe it's better that you get one of those places than a place, you know, that not have any at all. Right. And so I have those sort of mixed emotions on all of it, really.
Yeah, and I mean, just as a point of reference, right here in central Pennsylvania, you know, we've got a barbecue place down here on Route 11. I can pretty much bet it's not going to pair up to anything you've got going on down in Alabama, you know, or you know, really anywhere else that's native to barbecue. But again, is it better than nothing? Probably, certainly.
Yeah,
certainly. So
it's tough. I mean, food trends are something that, you know, people love them when they're new and fresh. People get tired of them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Some of them stick around for a long time. Some of them, you know, die off immediately. And that's all part of the business, and it's all something you've got to embrace. Sometimes those trends are great. Sometimes they shouldn't have been trends in the first place. They just should have been things we were all doing all along. So. Right. Perfect example of that would be something like the farm-to-table concept. Why did that have to be a trend? Why couldn't that have just been in practice? Yes. I mean, every good restaurateur, every good chef has been farm to table without spreading, you know, without shouting it from the rooftops. You know, I think that there's also a lot of restaurants that sort of espouse farm to table really more as just a hoax to get people to come in. And so, you know, I encourage diners to ask questions of where they're eating. You know, like to, you know. Everything, you know, like I've heard, you know, like, yes, every vegetable does in fact come from a farm, and then you do put it, you know, you cook it, and then it becomes on the table. So you just have to be really careful about, you know, like, are you going to a place that really supports local farmers? If that's what you want to do, if you don't care about it, that's fine. Go, you know, go eat wherever you want to. But you know, I think that you know, you need to put, everyone should find a chef that they trust.
Yes.
And a restaurant that they trust and that they love, and that, you know, they can really believe what is, you know, what they're being told that they're eating. I think that there's a big problem in a lot of restaurants where they may mislabel seafood or claim, you know, sort of hint that something is from a farm when the reality of the situation that it's not. Right. So, you know, lots of restaurants have big chalkboards that list 20 local farms, but the reality is if you were to go into their walk-in coolers, you know, they might have one or two things from this farm. So it's important to have a chef that you trust, someone that you can go to if you want to eat in that kind of way. And lots of people really do want to eat in a way where they know where the food comes from, they know where it's handled. And so it's not surprising that there is some trickery out there to get people to go into restaurants.
Definitely. I made the analogy a couple weeks ago that, you know, there really aren't that many differences between a chef and the doctor, because you know, they're instructing you what they're putting into you. You know, you're not necessarily going to check the syringe, you know, and you're not necessarily going to run back into their walk-in and check the ingredients, but you're putting it in for the betterment of yourself. And so that trust factor, Chef, I think you touch on a super important thing. And I've been fortunate enough here locally, you know, to have a handful that I know are absolute go-tos, who I actually play poker with on Monday nights now, so we keep our beers in his walk-in, so I can tell you what's in there. But so trends aside, you know, Chef Jim Smith, Executive Chef Alabama, all the seafood goodness. What's coming up next for you?
Well, I'm definitely in the earliest stages of working on a restaurant. Something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and it's something really that I have to owe, you know, I owe a huge amount of thanks to the folks at Top Chef for seeing something in me that they wanted to put me on television. And, you know, really, I was at a point where I felt like my career needed a shot in the arm. I always wanted a restaurant. I wanted to do it myself. You know, I didn't really want to work for somebody else. And I really think that being on Top Chef has provided me that opportunity. And like I say, I'm in the earliest stages now of planning and development. And I will have my restaurant, and hopefully it'll be soon. I'm shooting for probably within the next year or so to be open, and I'm incredibly excited about it.
That's awesome, and well deserved. You're giving Top Chef credit, but you know, from all of we fans, which is the cool part of, you know, my show here. I get to be a fan and I get to talk to you folks. You know, there was definitely something day one that I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's got it. This guy's got something. Then you find out all the accolades behind you, and I'm like, holy shit, how does this guy not have a restaurant? And now to hear that, I'm really excited. So I think Alabama might have to enter into the travel plans in about a year or so there, Chef.
Oh, you're always welcome.
Oh, my God, that's fantastic. So after section, couple off-the-cuff questions here. No one's ever been injured over the course of 55 episodes. Hopefully that doesn't happen here today. I'm standing in your kitchen. You can pick either professionally or at home. What music?
Okay.
What music do I hear?
You know, you're probably likely to hear maybe some Pixies, maybe some Ramones, maybe the Stones, the Beatles. I'm a big Beatles fan.
Awesome.
I'm also sort of a big, although not so much of a new hip-hop fan. I know I'm looking like an old fogey here, but I love the Outkast and sort of classic hip-hop. I'm a huge fan of. And so that's probably what you'd likely to be here on the iPod in the kitchen.
That's awesome. And Outkast, that's so cool because of the Southern influence. It's like, oh, he's Southern hip-hop. We got it. We got you. All right, so another one. You're going to be stranded on a deserted island. Go with me here.
Okay.
And you're only allowed to take 3 foods or food-type items with you. Inexhaustible supply, but only 3. What would they be and why?
Let's see. I would definitely want to take something that was like seed-bearing to make sure that I could continue to grow. So maybe something like tomatoes. I think tomatoes are... On a desert island, it's going to be warm enough year-round to grow tomatoes. So I think tomatoes would be a good option. I think, what's tough? I think I'll probably do mostly vegetables. I mean, I don't know. You know, you could bring a couple of chickens along. That would be really cool. Really more for the eggs than the chicken.
Right.
And something really filling. Maybe something like eggplant. I think eggplant would be a good choice for an island. You know, another sort of nerd alert is I'm a huge Survivor fan, and so that is something I probably should have thought about more.
Oh my God, that's awesome! That's awesome. See, you're so responsible with your answer. My wife interviewed me for the 20th episode, and I said beer, bourbon, and beef. Like what an idiot I sound like comparatively. Jesus, Jim's like, I'm gonna live forever. All right. Good on you.
It's all about sustainability.
There you go. Sustainability right there. Have you had the opportunity to read Melanie Denea, My Last Supper?
No.
And it's a 2-book series, coffee table books, My Last Supper and The Next Course. And it's 50 chefs interviewed as to what their last meal would be. And as I've understood now, for 54 episodes running, this is a popular late-night game with the Culinary Adapt. And so, Chef Jim Smith, I ask you, what would your last supper be?
You know, I would probably want maybe like a nice oyster stew. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the direction I would go, like a sort of Creole-ish kind of oyster stew.
Love it. And
you know, there was a great episode of Top Chef where the contestants had to cook last suppers for other famous chefs.
Oh, that's right. Oh, now I feel very remiss in remembering that. Yeah, it's true. Oysters, and that's so symbolic too of your seafood involvement and everything. That's awesome. What would you wash it down with?
Last supper, probably some champagne.
Excellent. Excellent. And finally, last question, the simplest and yet the most complex. What is food to you in a single word?
Food to me in a single word is, I'm sure that if every chef you ask this question probably says love. That's the first thing that comes to mind, but I'm going to say food to me is sharing.
Love it. I love it. Because really, isn't that what it's about at the end of the day?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, friend, that brings us to the end of the interview again. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today. CrateChef.com. Be sure to check out Chef Jim Smith's Crate Chef offerings coming up. Great idea for Mother's Day, so I hear. And they can learn more about you at ChefJimSmith.com, correct?
Yes, that's my website. And if you want to send me an email, I'm usually pretty good about responding to them. You can find a link to in my email there, and yeah, you can also all the various social medias. I'm moderately active on all of them, so yeah, like, friends, follow, all that kind of stuff.
Got it. You heard it here, folks. Chef Jim Smith. Again, Chef, thank you so very much for taking the time to be with me today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 55 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. Again, many thanks to Chef Jim Smith. CrateChef.com. Check out his stuff, and ChefJimSmith.com. Learn more about him. My producer, as always, has been the lovely Johnny Lamoria Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his offerings coming up. He's got a new show coming out, so stay tuned for that. Next episode will be 56. Again, no number jokes. We ran out of them, so we'll catch you then.
Retour, batterie rechargée.